Well, chat, I think we've got them. I don't really know what they're up to. For those of you who are just joining us from the raid, we appear to be playing against... Oh, I just realised this is a TCC professor. I believe that's the professor from over at the Tolarian Community College. I didn't even know he actually played any Magic, if I was honest with you. We've got him good. We've got a Mirror Crusader, sort of fire and ice here. I'm going for the Rubbins a little bit. I'm going to equip War and Peace because... Then we've got protection from all 4 colours of Magic. Yeah, I think he's pretty screwed here. I think we'll ask him very kindly, hey, Prof, what would you grade this? We'll give him a little wink. We don't want him to think we're, being too rude here. Not impressed. I guess losing isn't the most impressive thing. Okay, so he's tapping... Oh, man. Please tell me you are not playing Scara from Existence in a Legacy queue. Please, don't. Stop, I beg thee. I hate you. Hello boys and girls, it's me, Vince, also known as Pleasant Kenobi on the internet, and welcome to another episode of Dies to Removal. I've got my co-host, the wonderful Professor. He's not quite as good looking, but he is very suave. He's got a tie, he's got a jacket, he's even done his hair, especially for today. And so, Brian, what have you been up to recently in terms of Magic? What have you been playing? What have you been doing?
I've been grinding out that ladder on Arena for ranked constructed, because I love constructed and I love a little bit of competition, and boy oh boy is it addictive to be playing and ranking up on Arena. And can you guess what deck for standard I am grinding away with? What would you... this is the thing. So other people... I've been reading strategies for people going up the ranked ladder on Arena, and they're like, so you play mono white for these levels, and then you switch to Golgari mid-range for these levels, and this and that. I don't go for any of that. I'm doing one deck, no changes. That's my goal. That's my challenge to myself. I'm doing really well. So you're playing
Dredge?
What's that?
Dredge?
No.
Oh, no, sorry, I meant the Dredge beta. Well, not the Dredge. The one that you think beats Dredge. Merfolk, right? Merfolk.
There really isn't Merfolk on Arena. I mean, there are Merfolk, but it's not true Merfolk.
The most popularly played, like best of one list according to Goldfish is blue-green Merfolk.
No,
you don't have to count what your opponent's doing. Yeah, you just cut. Yes, have a look at the Goldfish stats, my friend. Have a look at the Goldfish stats.
No, it isn't. It isn't just Merfolk. I'm doing mono red all the way. Mono red all the way.
Wow, I wouldn't took you for a mono red kind of guy.
No, I actually am, because you don't have to think very hard, and so it's fantastic.
I guess Merfolk is basically just like a mono red deck, right? Like it's the same sort of thing. You just turn creatures sideways.
No. Merfolk, you have to think. But I just absolutely, love being able to play in the ranked on Arena. I really love.
So what rank are you at the moment then? How far have you got in the grind?
I'm above gold, but not quite at Mythic.
Right, so you're in platinum then?
No, I'm in gold still. I'm at high level gold. I'm at gold level 2. I'm at gold level 2. I started late. Like, in all fairness.
There's no rank shaming here. There's no rank shaming. I'm gold 2. I'm not gold 2. I'm gold 4, but I am gold 2.
as well.
Yeah, as well. Because I wouldn't, for the longest time, I would not play green-white tokens. I'm not going to play Merfolk. I'm not going to play mono red. I'm not going to play mono white. I'm going to play a deck that's good.
Risk factor. Exactly. That's my favorite. So my favorite card is Risk Factor. I love
Risk Factor's great.
Everything about Risk Factor. I love Runaway Steamkin. I love being able to just curve into Runaway Steamkin, and then either I've got like a lot of my Lava Runners and Firebrands to then bring out and charge it up, or I just drop a Chain Whirler or something like that.
If you're playing Best of One, are you playing Frenzy?
Aggro. Am I playing Frenzy? I'm not. I don't like Frenzy.
Just in that deck, you mean, right?
Yeah, okay. In that deck. Okay. I don't like the results I get with it. Yeah. I don't play the Flame of Keld either in my list. I think that one I favor a lot more, but I'm just about, I'm a lot more of a like, let's go full force here. And again, for me, I base a lot of it on using risk factor to try and get them to the point where it's just going to be such a feel bad situation for either answer. You got to navigate the game, and you can't just play risk factor right away. You have to have just the right moment so that they are forced to either give you the cards when you need them or forced to take the damage when they don't want to be taking that damage, and then you've just got a lightning bolt, a wizard's lightning in hand that you're able to cast off and finish them off. It's just fantastic, when they're at 7 and they decide to take the damage, and then you just bolt them.
How long do you reckon it took you to get to gold then? Do you reckon it took you quite a bit of time?
No, well, I haven't had. I don't know. I've been playing probably about 2 weeks now. I'd say about 2 weeks.
Okay. But,
yeah,
because I was playing like about half a dozen games a day, and it took me a while to get to gold. Mainly because I think my win rate was quite low because I wasn't playing Merfolk Mono Red or Mono White. I've recently changed though. When I got to gold, I was like, I need to take this seriously. So I built the Merfolk deck, I built the red deck, played some of that, ranked up from gold 5 to 4, and I just haven't gone back to it yet because I've been busy with other bits and bobs.
What have you primarily been playing in the last week more than anything else?
Ultimate Masters and Legacy. So I went to GP Prague. It was lovely. It was great. I've got a video. If you want to see a video about GP Prague, it's just gone up on my channel.
Oh, do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, I do, Brian. I know you don't watch it.
And let's set the clock. 5 minutes in, not even to the thing. We're plugging Pleasant
I know you don't like to watch.
channel.
I know you don't like to watch smaller content creators. I know you don't like to support smaller content creators, Brian. But some of us are out there slaving away. We haven't all got the half a million or whatever you're at nowadays.
You told me at the GP you met John Sasso, and he said he'd seen 2 of your YouTube videos. That's 2 more than I have. That's just, I was just like, wow, that's 2 more than me.
I mean, I had a chat to Mars, and he didn't even know who I was. So that was, one day these big names will know who I am.
Yeah. But anyway, go on. So what are you playing in Legacy? Yeah.
So I played Ultimate Masters, and I went 2-2 and dropped from the tournament because I couldn't be bothered to grind out the next 6 rounds and try and win every single one with a mediocre deck. And I just played Legacy. And I played primarily Death and Taxes all weekend because I lent my other decks out to people who want to try other stuff. I did okay, got quite a few prize tickets out of it, bought a lot of old boosters. I bought like RTR and Dissension and Legions and Scourge boosters to go in my Chaos drafts and stuff. So it was great. It was a good weekend. Saw old friends, met new faces, got to meet people like Mars and the guys in Channel Fireball and stuff. So yeah, it's wicked. I love GPs. I love GPs. GPs are like Christmas for me. Every GP I go to, I'm super excited. I love road trips to them. I love traveling with friends. So yeah, I love GPs.
They're a lot of fun, and they're one of the main attractions at a Magic Fest. So you just love, so at a Magic Fest has many things going on at it, and one of them is a GP, and so it sounds like you just love those MF and GPs.
Yes, Brian. He's doing this because he knows I hate it. He's doing this because he knows I hate the Magic Fest. No, everyone hates it.
How unusual for someone to dislike the rebranding of the tournament scene with you. What, you don't like the Pro Tour is now called the Mythic Championship?
That I'm less annoyed about. That's not great, but it's not as bad as Magic Fest. Like Mythic Championship sounds. Oh, what I would like, Brian, is they stop calling everything Mythic. We've got Mythic Rank, we've got Mythic Edition, we've got Mythic Rarity, and now we've got Mythic Championships. If you want to make things accessible for new players, don't call 4 different things the same thing.
Yes.
Alright? That's basic 101, making it easier and to access, but whatever. But the Magic Fest is a terrible name. No one likes it. A few people... there's a handful of people who are indifferent, but no one likes it. No one goes, you know what? That was a great change. No one says that.
Aren't you sponsored by Channel Fireball now?
It wasn't Channel Fireball's decision, it was Wizard's decision.
Okay.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
And fired. Okay.
For the record, I've been told by multiple Channel Fireball people that they were not keen on the name.
You might not want to say that.
I'm just, that's not that bad. People weren't keen on. No one is keen on it. No one, Brian. No one is keen on that name. I bet there are people at Wizards who are like, I'm not keen on that.
Right.
I bet there are people at Wizards who aren't keen on it.
So this was my idea. My idea is that now, so the Pro Tour, like, it's the Mythic Championship. So it's like, instead of Pro Tour London, it is Mythic Championship London. I say, for the winners of the Mythic Championship, we call them MC. And so it's just like, yo, I'm MC London. I won at London, MC London. Yeah.
They can only do that if they give them a very large gold chain with the word London on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there'll be MC London.
I mean, we had Sir Mix-a-Lot in the commercial. Like, let's just lean into this.
And as part of their contract, the contract that they've signed, they have to wear this large gold chain with a city name at every appearance they make as part of their contract. So every GP on Magic Fest, as you keep wanting to call it, they have a London thing on. It's just like clunking on the desk, and their opponent's really intimidated. They're like, "Oh, I think he might have won something." We've got this champion London gold chain on. I think it'd be great.
That's hilarious. So, moving into our topics for this week, we are going to start off with what now, Vince?
So, you kind of hinted at it in your introduction, or what you were saying you've been playing this week. We're talking about best of one. Because as if you haven't talked about it enough on Twitter and with your friends, we're going to broach the topic today as well. Is best of one healthy for Magic? Is it the future of competitive Magic? And do you personally like it? What are your thoughts, Brian?
Well, I feel that we already have a official tweet from Wizards, I think it was Aaron Forsyth, who said there are no plans whatsoever to bring best of one to any paper competitive events. So my first question is why not? Is there a reason that we're not bringing best of one to paper competitive events? And whatever that reason is, why is that not a valid reason for the digital competitive events? Wouldn't that reason translate? So why don't we start by just talking about what are the reasons not to have best of one in competitive paper events? Why not?
I think it makes a complex strategy game far less complex. I think it boils Magic down to base elements that are what's the word I'm looking for? Reductive. It makes Magic simple. As you see on Arena, people favour aggro decks because you can fit more games in, and that's kind of why. We'll come to that in a moment when we talk about the Mythic grind and stuff like that. But it makes people favour playing aggro decks, and then that makes other people skew their decks to beat the aggro decks with their main board wraths and things like that. And then you basically have more higher variance because of that. Did you draw your wrath? Yes or no?
Right.
Probably means did you win? Yes or no? And that's no way to really play Magic, just reducing skill to a coin flip, essentially. Well, also, Magic's not designed for that as well. Like, Hearthstone has a coin flip mechanic where if you don't go on the play, you get an extra mana to
compensate.
Yeah, it compensates. Which again, I don't. Maybe they'll add that. Maybe Arena will end up looking nothing like Paper Magic, where people are getting extra mana and stuff like that. But,
I think that would be a big mistake. I think there needs to be much more of synchronicity between paper and digital, where it should look and essentially be the same, with, of course, a few minor 100%. Exceptions. So, in terms of what you're talking about, it sounds as though going to best of one eliminates kind of the player strategy element more and more, because if it comes down to did I draw this card, and if I drew this card then I win, then it's just a matter of how did I shuffle my deck and what did fate have in store for me, as opposed to making actual decisions. And decision making not only occurs during gameplay in Magic, but it also occurs during sideboarding in Magic, to be able to make the decision in building your deck what you're going to have in that sideboard. Sideboards are very interesting because when you look at competitive players, a lot of the times they might have very, very similar main board lists for a certain deck archetype or deck that they're playing, but then their sideboard choices can vary wildly. And we can see two people, for example, on, I don't know, some modern deck, hollowed one in Modern, and then you look at what they're running in the sideboard, and it's actually quite different. And so there's a lot of decision making.
You see it in standards right now with mono white. You've got a mono white deck that is just mono white, or you've got the Boros aggro deck that has no red cards main board. It has red in its mana base,
right?
And then it plays experimental frenzy and maybe some red removal spells in the sideboard. And that strategy is now just completely not even an option or available.
Right. And so, and then of course there is what happens in that game 2 and possibly game 3. I mean, by having a best of 3, you also help negate things where a person gets just mana screwed. That is a part of Magic. And so we sit down to play, and I have a bad draw, and I try and work with it, and it just doesn't go well. Well, game over, or well, let's see if that happens again, or if I have a chance to redeem myself. it does make games go longer, but don't we want longer games for if we're going to be broadcasting this is a competitive esport? I mean, if you're just burning through like this, and you've got your stars, you've got your champions playing against each other, and then the match is over and we're on to the next thing, is that really what we want?
I think there's a lot of public perception around that. I think we've mentioned it on this podcast before how I've watched a blue-white modern mirror match, blue-white control, and the Twitch chat, which I know you're gonna mock because Twitch chat's always vile, but the chat's just people complaining about how slow it is. When in reality, the intricacies of that matchup are happening in the hand and in the players' heads, and then playing around spells and things. So that goes to show that sometimes people don't necessarily want to see the complicated back and forth. They might want to see splashy cards that come in and cause coin flips, and then the game's either over or it's not.
Sure.
So maybe in some ways it does help with making things easier to view because things are faster and quicker, and people's attention spans aren't taxed.
That's just for a control matchup. Then what happens when you get a red deck matchup? It's going to be like, and we're off and done. You know, I mean,
thing is, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit. I completely agree in the sense that some of the most interesting games of Legacy that I played this weekend were games where not much was happening on the board, but we knew we had things in hands. I had a Vial on 3, or I've got a Surgical, and they've got a Street Wraith, so I can't Surgical their Dredger, because they can Street Wraith to redredge and all that sort of mechanics and stuff. And without that sort of stuff's not going to happen in Best of 1, because you're going to lose sideboard tech. I mean, if we start talking about Eternal formats, it's horrendous. Yeah. The idea of Modern or Legacy without sideboards makes me feel genuinely scared that the game those formats will just die. They would happen. So that's never going to happen. We're talking about this Best of 1 and whether it will go to, and you said Wizards said it won't be a competitive thing. That's never going to happen. We probably should explore though how some things about Best of 1 are good, right? The speed and brevity is great for playing a game on the toilet, for example, right? Have you ever played a game of Hearthstone on the toilet, Brian?
No, but I did play. I did play Hearthstone a few times, and it was evocative to me of being on the toilet.
But Hearthstone was great for that, being able to just play one game on the bus.
So that's kind of like, in a lot of bathrooms, we keep like things to occupy yourself while you're, in there, like books and magazines, but they're always just god awful. It's like just the worst. This is where you put all the stuff that you don't want to have in the rest of the house. Again, very evocative to me of Hearthstone. Are we ragging on Hearthstone here?
I don't think Hearthstone. I don't.
Yes,
no. I don't like Hearthstone that much.
It's a toilet game. I got it, Vince. But we're talking about Best of 1.
Your words, not mine, Brian. Your words, not mine. But anyway, there are benefits to that speed of giving a player who hasn't got the time to play a 50-minute 3 rounds plus sideboarding match. They just want to sit down with their lovely mono red deck.
So we're dumbing
and
down
burn through
Magic.
some Best of 1.
So we're dumbing down Magic. That's the point of this.
Yeah. So Merfolk players can play Standard in Best of 1. It was dumbing down Magic for them.
Yes.
For the Merfolk players.
Right. So that's a big concern. That's a big concern of mine, is that they're actually having meetings where they're saying, our problem is Magic is too complicated, it's too skill intensive, it relies too much on strategy and player decision. What are ways we can dumb it down? And the first answer is get rid of sideboards, get rid of best of 3 matches.
I just don't see it happening. Can you imagine a Pro Tour where they had a top 5 where it's Best of 1? That would never happen, right?
Right, but so why would they want their digital platform to be showing this?
Because they are imitating other games. They're imitating Hearthstone's ladder system. So they're going to what's popular and what's successful and going, we should do that. But as we've seen with Hearthstone, recently a lot of players have moved to Magic and moved to Arena because the Hearthstone metagame, as far as I understand it, has been really bad. So, but then we've got situations where if we had, in Standard, another Saheeli Rai, or another Birthing Pod, or another Splinter Twin, or even Scapeshift, any of these decks that have existed in Standard, and you didn't have the ability to get sideboard cards to combat them, it would kill Standard again. And we've had issues with Standard being awful in the last 2 to 3 years, right? We're at a good place now. All it takes is one hiccup or one not noticed, undiscovered combo, and we're back to a Standard winter where Best of 1 on Arena is terrible and the Standard stuff might suffer.
And this brings up, and that's a very good point, and it brings up something I've said before, which is that Magic needs to stop chasing what other games do and start
100%.
embracing what they do better than other games. And I feel that Magic has this, it's Magic the Gathering it looks at itself in the mirror and it sees Jan Brady. And it's just like, Hearthstone, Hearthstone, Hearthstone. It's always Hearthstone. And it just has this Jan Brady complex where it's like,
don't get that
you
reference.
don't get that reference? It's Brady Bunch. No.
Oh, I know of the Brady Bunch. Okay.
You know of them. Well, there's this American show called The Brady Bunch. Okay. It's a story of a man named Brady, and he was raising 3 boys of his own. Anyway.
Right.
It's...
You said Jan Brady. Do I tell him I don't have a clue? Do I just look around quizzically? I literally.
Right.
Anyway,
but
so this person's looking in the mirror.
Idea, right? But magic looks in the mirror, and it's more often than not sees what it has problems with, or it has a lot of envy of popular mainstream games that like Hearthstone that are just doing so well, and it doesn't say
like a midlife crisis almost.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it too, and it like needs to embrace the very fact that we have. I just love that we have all these Hearthstone streamers that at first we just reached out to like, hey, we'd like to sponsor you playing Arena to, maybe be able to access your audience, and we did those original agreements, and then all of a sudden all these Hearthstone streamers, independent of getting paid, where the ad revenue dried up, said, God damn, this game's great, and are now playing it. I mean, look at a few of these folks are hooked on Magic, and that's because Magic is the greatest game in the world.
I was about to say, it's almost as if the game itself is just really, really good,
and
without any of these changes and adjustments.
We chasing again this dumbed down strategy when instead we should be extolling the virtue of the sideboard, why the sideboard makes games better than Hearthstone.
Perhaps we're not the audience for that, because there's always this talk of the casual makes the money for Wizards and Hasbro, right? It's not the
yes.
It's
always someone else. It's always someone else.
But I've got a point to this. So perhaps
Thank
we're
God.
not the audience. You and I. Oh God, what's up with you? What's up with you today, Brian? Jesus wept. Right, anyway. So one of the arguments would be perhaps we're not the audience for it. Maybe the dumbing down or simplification or any of that sort of stuff is to appeal to a mass wider audience. But that said, why are they putting 10 million into esports then?
Right.
Like, why? Because I guess maybe that's the aspirational thing. Like, people can aspire to be it, play it for a little bit, and then walk away as I punch my microphone. It's just bizarre, that whole thing. So best of one is the race car that the midlife crisis gentleman buys to make himself feel better compared to his neighbour with the 6-pack or whatever.
I think, Magic has a lot of wanting to have, like, on Magic Online we have, like, friendly league versus competitive league, and that has a lot to do with prizing, but I think that a lot of people look at Magic games and we like to say casual versus competitive, friendly versus hardcore, and that's fair. I have my own disagreements with that sort of a division, but I do think that's fair. And I think that's saying that if you want to just jam some quick games on Arena, that best of one is fine for that. It's like, you're right. I can't, I'm not on the toilet right now, so I'm not playing Hearthstone, but I do want to just jam a quick game. So that's what best of one is really good for. And maybe like some like speed events and being able to play around and things like that. That's cool too. Okay. But you are going to have a propensity towards aggro in that sort of event. You are going to have this kind of, it's either aggro or someone's going to slam down their Teferi fast enough, and there's a lot less of the in-between decks. Nonetheless, I do feel that when you do get to competitive, anything that is competitive in a serious way, you drop that best of one. And the fact that the more competitive, value-driven events and even the ranked system are all best of one is just stupefying to me, especially when they would make that announcement and say, hey, look, we would never do this in paper. That would be a big mistake. And it's like, well, then why are you making that mistake on your digital platform? It seems to me that if it's true for gameplay and performance and results and enjoyment and all of these aspects in paper, then the same is going to be true in digital.
See, I hadn't really thought of it like that. But
Yeah.
what you're saying there, where they shouldn't make the mistake, because obviously it would be a mistake for paper. That makes me wonder if they're making the same mistakes they made with Jules the Planeswalkers, where they didn't realise that actually when the last Jules game tried to be Arena, right, where you could buy packs and that nonsense.
Yes.
But instead of making it as similar to your paper counterpart as possible, including the same sets and just making the same game, they made special different sets, and then
Right.
they made mistake after mistake where they weren't doing what was good, what they've already established is good in paper, and maybe Arena's making some of those mistakes again, where they're going, oh well, we need to change it to be hip and cool and
Right.
fast. In reality, you just don't need to do that, because people will play Magic because it generally is the best turn-based strategy game you're ever going to play.
Right.
So they don't need to be sexy and fast. Although I like sexy Magic, don't get me wrong.
I guess that's the problem. Is Magic is sexy. We're getting once again to, it's like, listen. You're approaching 40, you're looking in the mirror, you've been watching a lot of TV, you see all these supermodels, and you think, I'm not sexy. And it's like, yeah, you are. You are sexy. You are sexy because of who you are on the inside. And that's Magic the Gathering.
Everyone is sexy to someone.
No, that's Magic the Gathering, is you are sexy on the inside. You need to stop looking at all these flashy supermodel flash in the pan card games and embrace what makes you good. And this
intellectualism is sexy, right? Being smart is sexy, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the topic of best of one is a very good topic to then move on to the discussion around the race to Mythic. So as we've discussed, Magic has looked in the mirror, seen the grey hairs in its beard, and thought, you know what, I'm going to buy a sports car. And by sports car, it means have a ladder system that is almost identical to how Hearthstone's performs, where you grind up ranks, eventually go from bronze to silver to gold to platinum to Mythic. Mythic, you get a rank, top 250 in the world or region or whatever it is. And what Mythic does, so I'm going to lead in. I was going to ask your opinion, but I'm going to lead in with mine. Is that what it does is it promotes speed and brevity, because Mythic isn't about skill inherently. As long as you've got a 50 to 60% win rate, even slightly lower than that, depending on how the system works. But as long as you've got a 50% win rate, you will get there. It's just about how many games you play, because you can't rank down from certain levels.
Right.
So you have to grind games.
Right.
The way to do that is to play decks that only take you 3 to 5 minutes to play a game. Mono red, Merfolk, mono white in current thingy. I guess Is It Drake's is like arguably in that category as well.
Yes, it is.
And then what that does is that allows you to just play as many games as you can, as fast as you can, and get there. If you're doing it with Control as your main deck, it's going to take you 3 or 4 times, 5 times the length of time as someone who's playing mono red. And what that does is it skews Magic to not really be Magic. And it skews Standard not really to be Standard. We've got a wickedly diverse and interesting Standard right now. And obviously the best of one queue makes you want to play the same 3 decks that are just fast, essentially. And I really don't like that. I like best of one being a fast thing that we can play when we have got a bit of time over, but the whole skewing Magic to be this like race to the finish, it kind of feels like I'm playing Modern all over again. So that's how I see it anyway. Do you
I do agree with a lot of that, and I was even making a joke about how I keep encountering the same deck, and I'm looking forward for Magic Arena to add more than just 2 standard decks to playing in the ranked ladder racing to Mythic. And I think that this is a tough one because I actually, we started out this episode of Dies to Removal by me saying I'm addicted to it. I really like it. It's great. I'm editing a video and I just lean over and get in some games in between, or I've got the evening to myself and I want to sit back and grind out some Magic. It's rewarding, like you said. If you're getting more than 50% win rate, you're progressing, so it feels good. There's a lot of benefits to it. There's definitely, this is one of the aspects of Hearthstone that I think, yeah, sure, you can look to copy. I mean, they really copied. Usually when you, as a former professor, I would say that when you copy or plagiarize someone, you want to change it just a little. This is just like copy pasta here.
There's no stars, it's little lines instead.
Okay, yeah.
But it's also beta. They could.
I would have done a little bit more mixing it up. But yeah, this is definitely, I think we can learn from other games and we can take some things from them. It's a fun way to mix things up. But you're right that we are reducing the diversity of decks that we see. We are reducing the strategy by making everything so rewarding for faster decks. Is best of 3 something that would solve this, or is it going to make going on the ranked ladder miserable?
So what happens with a normal metagame when things are oppressive or too good is that the metagame will adjust. So you all get decks that will be better against, say, red aggro and white aggro, okay? Like your control decks or Golgari mid-range or something like that. And normally metagames will adjust and shift and change, as we'll talk about in Modern a little bit shortly when we come to bannings. That doesn't happen in Best of 1, because even when you lose your game, you're like, oh well, I've lost one game in 2 minutes, I can now win 2 more games in 2 minutes each, instead of playing that deck that took you 5 or 6 minutes to win. So even when there could be a metagame shift to stop you playing aggro, or for you to play the best deck against aggro, there's no reason to do it, because you just want to get as many games in as possible. What Best of 3 would allow you to do... so a ladder will always be like this, because you always want to get the most amount of games in a ladder. So even in Best of 3, people would still play the aggro decks, I believe. So we're kind of laying the fault at the door of Best of 1, when in reality people would still play whatever deck they can finish quicker. However, with sideboards... there's a possibility that you could play the mid-range decks and the control decks and not have to main... Because when you play control versus control and you're the deck that's decided to play 4 Golden Demise main or 4 Settle the Records main, you look like the fool when you come up against the mirror. That's where sideboards allow you to flex and change and adjust to strategies. So I think, again, yeah, I guess Best of 3 would
Is that going to ruin the experience, though? Like, if you have to do Best of 3 to get up to, Mythic on the ladder, are you going to be like, oh my god, this is taking forever just to get to gold?
Yes, you wouldn't play control, would you? If your games at the moment take 10 minutes each, just control, if not more. You'd have half an hour games. A control player could probably never get to Mythic unless it was just their job to play Magic.
I suppose control does have the advantage. Now, I'm speaking anecdotally here from just playing against control. Control has a great advantage. As soon as it's determined that you're on control, I just concede and you move on to your next damn game.
So there's that.
You go, leave me alone. Go away.
I think that's true.
Win.
I think the problem is more to do with laddering systems than it is to do with Best of 1 or Best of 3. Yeah. I think I'd still prefer Best of 3 to allow me that flexibility, but I'd still find myself not grinding fast enough because I'm not playing only aggro decks. So, to be completely honest, the more I think about it as we're talking, the more I think the fault lies at the face of it being a ladder system. Right. And the other thing I want to bring up about ladder systems is that you said about it being rewarding, and it is. The endorphin hit of going up levels and getting the little pips and stuff is great.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love it too.
But have you seen the rewards you get for being Mythic? Have you seen them?
I don't have them in front of me. Are you being sarcastic or endorsing? Like, is it big or small?
I'm being sardonic with my tone.
It's pathetic, huh? What do you get?
I believe, off the top of my head, it's a handful of boosters. I think the top rank might be 5 boosters and some number of gems or gold, like a draft or 2 at most. That might even be generous.
But I didn't have to pay to do it. It was free. I mean, like, that's cool, right?
That is true, but you're getting you get more reward for winning 1 draft than you do for doing Mythic. And 1 draft, although it has an entry fee, will cost you... I say 1 draft, might be 2 drafts, but 1 or 2 drafts will take you, what, half an hour? An hour?
Right.
This will take you literally 30, 40 hours. Mythic, although I said it's not all skill, it's about time and grind, it takes a lot of time.
Right.
And if you're going to invest, if you're going to become one of the top 150 in your region or world or whatever the ladder uses, you deserve more than a handful of boosters, is how I see it. Give them 10 wild cards, 10 rare wild cards even. That'd still be better than the Mythic. Or actually
nice.
Put these people's names on a website. Give them a T-shirt. Send out 150 actual trophies that then people go, you know what? Next month I am going to
put their names. I mean, is there going to be like a leaderboard where like you can go and see where everybody is ranked, or at least see the top ranks? Like that in itself is such wild incentive that you could look and click 100%. And see leaderboard top 10, click 25, click 50, click 100, sort of thing. And it's like, that is freaking the sort of stuff where that just people want to do that so bad.
Yeah, and they'll see their friends or other pros and they'll aspire to be better than them.
Look at me, I'm all of this is aspiration. LSV on Murpho.
Exactly. It's all aspiration. The whole reason they're putting 10 million into esports, the whole reason Mythic exists as a rank, is to cause people to aspire and therefore play the game. So why not put a leaderboard? The leaderboards must exist. They must have those 150 Mythic ranked people.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could rank beyond that, because I don't think there's any ELO in place, or the matchmaking system's a bit wonky, isn't it? There's theories that it uses what deck you're playing, so I don't know if that's true or whether that's people on Twitter just getting going off on one about
people
arena
on
rankings.
Twitter just going off without evidence. That's absurd, Mr. Kenobi. That is
I'm sorry.
absolutely unheard of. Absurd.
Baseless
I won't
speculation.
listen to such slander for the fine social media platform that is Twitter.
Facebook's no better. The Facebook groups around Arena, people have some wild conspiracies about how the Shufflers doing them over because they dared to play Teferi and just weird stuff like that.
Right. It would be hilarious for April Fool's Day if they just literally made it so that it looked at your deck, and only for control players, only on April Fool's Day, all control players were only paired against other control players for the entirety of the day. Would be the greatest April Fool's Day joke.
No matter what deck you sign up with on April Fool's, you get put in with Bant Turbofog versus Bant Turbofog. Everyone's Bant Turbofog for one day. No matter what, you sign into a draft and it's still Bant Turbofog.
It's only funny if it happens to someone other than me, Vince. It's only funny if it happens to someone other than me. Are there
Don't play Arena on April 1st.
Besides just giving like? Are there any other solutions to this then, in terms of it? What if there was a level where, let's say you hit platinum, and it says for platinum you're going to be randomly given a top 10 deck against someone randomly given a top 10 deck, and so this is testing your ability to play multiple decks.
I think that's a cool idea. I guess it could work. But again, people might even just like concede the control. I'm control, they're control, concede. I think ladder inherently can't be fixed like this, and maybe perhaps we should just be like, well, ladder will be different to normal Magic, and we can still have a league system. We can still have tournaments.
Right.
You know, like the modern and the standard challenges that happen on Modo. They are like considered very peak what is happening in that format.
Right.
So when someone wins a legacy challenge, like Julian Narb just did last weekend, his Elves deck is now considered that is obviously a solid Elves deck because he went like 11-1 or whatever. So we should have those tournaments where you can play the I'm going to use a really condescending term now, real Magic in those tournaments, and they can play on the toilet having a poop Magic in the ladder.
Why
That's
how
how I
going
see
back
it.
to the toilet with you? Anyway, let's.
You're the one that wants to ask the question.
It's like a lot of your examples this episode come back to pooping on the toilet. It's just really interesting.
You've honestly never watched any of my content, have you? Most of my content, veers towards talking about pooping. But anyway.
So how do you feel about that? Channel? Well, okay. Yes.
So how do you feel about separating them out and letting ladder players be ladder players and letting tournament players be tournament players? Is that how we do it?
I mean, I like variety. I like choices. I think that having that option is fine. What I don't want is for things to get overly diluted where you go in and it's like, okay, so we've got ranked best of 3, ranked best of 1, ranked best of 1 draft, ranked best of 3 draft, ranked sealed. This is just like, it looks like just this throw up of options. I like to have a clear setup of choices. I do like those choices, but I also want a little bit of streamlining within them. I think that embracing that maybe the ladder system is going to just be best of 1, then what I would say is balance that by saying then that all those other events, in any event that I'm paying money to enter, is best of 3. Like a competitive money's on the line. I'm sorry, money isn't on the line legal. Well, it is.
It's not gambling.
But it's gemstones are on the line, which make total sense because gemstones and Magic, right?
That couldn't possibly be a currency, could it?
Right.
I've got a question for you. You say how you want things streamlined. You want things, to excuse the term, perhaps dumbed down for you in terms of choice and selection. Would you like it that if you've got a format you like, such as, I don't know, best of 1, that was to just take it away randomly from you and give it back to you and they feel like you should have it? Is that how you would like your selections to be simplified?
No, I just would like there to be... Like, for example, I think that I would like them to say, we're going to make a declaration. We think best of 1 is really good for casual/fast play, and we think best of 3 is what we embrace and endorse for what we will call true competitive play, and competitive play is usually when there's some money that has been spent to enter or larger rewards. So you were talking about that you feel that the rewards for Mythic, even though you don't pay any money, are really cheap and stingy, but no money was on the line. So good rewards for money on the line. I would say that means that those things where you paid the money and get the good rewards are competitive. And so I'd like a more universal kind of thing where then it's like, okay, great. Would you like to pay for a draft? That will, of course, be best of 3. Oh, do you want to just grind out some free games? That will, of course, be best of 1. And that we can make exceptions to that. We can say, hey, guys, this week we're doing a special best of 1, a standard rapid fire pay match. And that's fine. Hey, we're doing a special, like it's free, but it's best of 3. But for the most part, having this concept of casual and /fast, rapid fire, this is best of 1. Competitive, thinky, money on the line, this is best of 3. And then let's go from there.
There's an interesting point that you just said that, or what I come up to when you said draft. So there are some professional players on Twitter who have been saying that perhaps best of 1 might work for draft pods.
Sure.
For example, where instead of playing best of 3 against 2 or 3 of the opponents in the pod, you play best of 1 against 5 to 8 or 4 to 8 or 4 to 7 of the opponents in the pod, and you have 20-minute rounds and you go through playing against everyone and then end records, because then you get better data in terms of who has done really well, the person who's gone undefeated, defeated everyone in the pod.
It's worth a try.
Do you think that perhaps
I mean, so why haven't we done this before? What are we, 25 years into Magic?
But they are. You saw the email, right? Wizards have emailed to stores to try this best of 1 format instead.
Yeah,
it might be,
that's right. They have, haven't they?
Because, I mean, we're talking a lot about sideboards and simplifying strategy, but how much sideboarding do you do in Limited? And perhaps that's why modal cards will be very good in the future, because you'll have Crushing Canopy, where it destroys an enchantment, destroys a flyer, and you just main deck it and go into your best of 1. I think that could work for certain formats, and those formats would be potentially draft or maybe sealed. I mean, it wouldn't work at a GP, playing like, I don't know. Because the other thing as well about best of 1s for GPs, which, again, we're not saying it's going to happen, but the reason it can't happen, is that you'd have the amount of downtime between rounds. You know how long downtime is between rounds at GPs?
It's insane.
If you went from like 9 rounds to 15 rounds of best of 1, you'd have so much downtime that it'd take 2 days to do the first day. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
But for a draft at your local store, where you want to get as many games as possible, play against all your mates, that could be the place that best of 1 might shine.
Playing around with it. My big concern, though, is that we're going to get to that point where then just what you just described is going to be at a GP, this will never happen, but at your local game store it will happen. And then Magic starts to look like we get these different... I know Magic is many different things to many different people, but I like the idea that when I go into an LGS, when I go into a GP, and when I log on to Magic Arena, I'm seeing the same sort of game. And I like that uniformity of, like, this is Magic the Gathering, this is what a draft is. And I don't like the idea of, well, this is a game store draft, this is a GP draft, this is an arena draft.
And I'm a huge fan of that.
That universal sort of thing. We saw
that with product last year. We saw the Chinese specialist walkers that were legal in Chinese standard, but not English. Then we released cards on Arena that new players will play with, go to the game store, ask if they're available, get told they don't exist in paper.
Right.
And then they pull out their deck they've got from Walmart or from Waterstones in England, and they'll be like, oh, I've got my Chinese Planeswalker. And I thought, that's also not legal, Timmy. And he's like, what is legal? So I believe from product to gaming conventions and rules, we should try and uniform everything.
Did you know that at one point it was active policy that they would use the same artwork on the same card, like, so you've got Terror or Giant Growth, and they said we will always have the same artwork on Terror and Giant Growth even when it is reprinted. That way, no matter what language the card is in, when you sit down to play Magic, you will have a larger success of being able to recognize what is happening in front of you. And then this, of course, has been completely abandoned just in terms of artwork, but it's reached a point where, I mean, you can watch coverage of a GP and hear the commentators say, is that a Doomblade? Because there's 15 different printings of the artwork,
that is a change I can get behind. I love the customization of decks.
Yes,
I just brought a lot of alters for my decks at the GP.
I bring it up as the idea of, is that how a standard deck in Beijing looks, because they got an entire set of cards that were printed just for the Chinese market? Oh, is that how a draft on a GP looks like where it's like it becomes unrecognizable. What is this? What am I playing? And I like a certain amount of uniform experience where I don't have a local game store near me, maybe, so I'm playing online. I don't want to deal with other people in person, so I'm playing online, but I'm still playing Magic as though I did have that local game store or I had gone down to the GP, and there's things you can do online that I hope they embrace, and that's fine, but at a certain point, we do want to have that uniformity, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I guess in some ways you could say that when you log on to play Magic, you want to play Magic and not play Hearthstone.
Even if I'm on the toilet.
Fair to say?
Even if I'm on the toilet, I don't want to play Hearthstone because I'm trying to get that out of my system. So speaking of crap that you want out of your system, we've got bannings coming up, and the big deck in Modern that's causing a lot of debate is KCI. Now, I actually did a joke about KCI in my best of cards for Modern from the new set, and it was just really meant as a throwaway joke, but it created this enormous debate in the comments about whether or not KCI was even oppressive in Modern or in need of a banning, as a lot of people were saying, no, Phoenix is the big offender, and a giant debate came out. Before we even talk about whether or not you think KCI should be banned, do you just agree that KCI is a problem in Modern right now, Vince?
I feel like at this moment, it would seem so.
Yes.
I mean, we just come off the back of Oakland's top 8. However, as
the 8 decks, for those who are not familiar, just because not everybody might have followed that.
Yeah, of course.
4 of the 8 decks in top 8 were KCI, and that is very uncommon in Modern. Like, I am usually on Twitter after a Modern GP posting about how there's 7 or sometimes 8 different decks in a GP top 8 for Modern. And to see 4 to be this horrible, I'm sorry, people who play KCI, but oh my god, this deck is just like the worst.
The worst.
We're
in agreement there.
Yes.
But so there was someone made a one of the girls from the Vendilli Clique podcast made a very interesting joke saying, do you remember when everyone wanted Grixis Death Shadow banned? Which I thought was hilarious, because I was one of those people being like, does this need to be banned? Because that deck is feeling very oppressive right now.
Right.
And I tweeted out about it, and people was confirming, actually, when Grixis Death Shadow was at its height, this is after the pro banning and as push was printed, I think.
Right.
Around that time, it was putting up like 2 to 4 of top 8s in different SCG events, and people were like listing them and things. And then what changed? The format just adjusted itself, and things just got better. Because, like I said previously on our previous topic, metagames adjust, decks change, people get used to stuff. And with Phoenix, the topic of Phoenix, I think Phoenix is one of those decks where it's the hot new toy. People are still figuring out exactly what the right list is. People are always arguing about the number of gut shots, for example. And things can adjust and things can get better. People need to learn that Thing in the Ice is the better card in the deck, not the Arclight Phoenix. People need to play around that card more than the Graveyard Interaction, etc., etc., etc. Will people adjust to KCI? Maybe, but should it still exist? Probably not.
I do remember, and I do remember when there was a lot of talk about banning Death's Shadow or something from it to power it down. And you're right, that did adjust, but that doesn't mean it's always going to adjust. I bring up Eldrazi Winter. I think that there's another issue before we talk about just what we might ban we've got an upcoming ban announcement very soon. This will be posted before that, but my question to you is Modern always going to have this problem? Is it always going to have 1 to 2 degenerate decks that have taken over and just is causing everybody to pull their hair out and scream that we need this banned? Is this an unfair reaction just on the part of Magic players? Magic players need to chill the hell out. Just because there are 4 KCI decks at 1 GP's top 8 does not mean the sky is falling. You know, what exactly does this say to us about Modern and the future of Modern? Is this why we're going to be looking to replace Modern with the post-standard format that will be introduced on Arena soon? You're shaking your head at that.
Yes, I am shaking my head, because as much as I enjoy playing new formats and things, I don't want old formats to be left to rot for the sake of it. I mean, there's people with tinfoil hats on thinking that perhaps, I think Safford Olive was even making jokes about this, that the reason they might leave things not banned or unbanned in Modern is to let Modern get bad, so when the new format shows up, everyone jumps ship. which would be... That is quite a big conspiracy theory, in all fairness. I think there will always be a boogeyman with older formats. It's happened with Legacy and Modern several times, where people are like, this deck is degenerate, or this deck is too good, and then you give it some time, people adjust, people learn how to play around it, other decks rise up that are good against it, and things just go in a cycle.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about Magic. Metagames adjust and change. But I think there'll always be decks that be getting banned. I mean, Tron is the default one, right? Whenever a deck isn't doing too well, or there's anything that's obviously obnoxious, people default back to a base level of Tron. That's the base level. Everyone's like, ban this from Tron, ban that from Tron. Oh, we need another Tron killer spell and all sort of stuff. And then once a deck spikes a tournament, like KCI has definitely done here, people are like, okay, it's KCI. KCI is the target now. And then things will die back down again, and people will go back to the base level of Tron, and so on and so forth to the end of time, to the end of Modern. So yeah, I do think there will always be some sort of deck. The best deck in the format, which is what a lot of people like to say, which I hate that term, but the best deck in the format will always lead to people asking for it to be banned, especially if it has got a good matchup against established decks that other people have been playing for a long time, and they feel upset when they go to a tournament and get absolutely smashed by this new Phoenix malarkey, and they're like, well, what about my Jund? I've been playing this for 5 years. I'm one of those players. I play D&T all the time, and when it's in a bad place, it makes me sad. But things wax and wane and change.
I think that any conspiracy theories that Wizards of the Coast is going to actively damage one of its most popular formats in the hope that a newer, less problematic format would pay off are absurd if you think about it. They have something that's working. They have something that's popular. They have no idea. I mean, for all we know, post-standard is going to be as popular as Brawl. In other words, not at all. And will fizzle out. And if they went and intentionally tried to kill Modern and then post-standard faded away, they could be in a very bad position. You're not going to take something that's working and work against it. In fact,
100%.
the fact
especially so they can print from as well. If they can print cards into Modern, there's no reason for them to get rid of Modern. The conspiracy theories might stand a little bit better for things like Legacy and Vintage, where they haven't got as much control over it.
Right.
But Modern, they can still reap the money out of that format.
Yeah. There's money to be had. And in fact, the fact that we are finally seeing Wizards of the Coast pay attention to Pauper as a format is because they're seeing that popularity. And if it's popular, even if it's a format of all commons, there's ways to get money out of it. And at the end of the day, what everyone forgets with all their conspiracy theories about Wizards is that Wizards of the Coast wants your money. And because they're a company, so of course they want your money. They're not going to take anything that is successful and intentionally torpedo it. They might be stupid and kill the golden goose and destroy a thing, but they didn't do so knowingly. So I don't buy into conspiracy theories. I buy into incompetence. I don't buy into conspiracy theories. In terms of Modern, I think that you just said something that got a little overlooked, which is this idea of them printing their own cards. This is where we're headed, my theory, for if not 2019, I actually think it'll be this year. We're going to see made for Modern cards this year. I've seen signs of this. I think this is the year we're going to see it.
In the tea leaves.
The tea leaves. I consulted the bones. And I see that we are headed towards original made for Modern cards that will skip standard. I do not know enough about design. Really yeah, I don't know enough about design. I'm not a card designer. I can't sit here and say this is perfect because we could design X card that's going to fix Modern or reinvigorate it. But maybe that's what the format really does need. I'm very hesitant about it, but we will see. In terms of bans, name one card you think should be banned on Monday's BNR update.
So what I think should be banned 100%, that's what I'll go with. No discussion. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, since here, I'll show you. I say Ancient Stirrings.
Okay.
Ancient Stirrings needs to be banned.
I say KCI. Itself.
Like literally just the card itself.
Yes.
You're saying
there are four potential bans, right?
Krark Clan Ironworks.
That's one of the reasons you should be banned. It's so hard to say, right?
Yes.
There's 4 cards: Mox Opal, Ancient Stone, Scrap Shoreline, and KCI, right? They're the really big culprits. Mox Opal because fast mana in Modern has been a topic and a bone of contention for a long time.
Yeah.
Problem is that it hurts Affinity. Is that a thing we all should be doing? Ancient Stirrings, again, it hurts multiple decks, including Tron and the newest form of Affinity.
Yeah.
Is that something we should be doing? KCI itself... Oh, sorry, not KCI. Scrap Trawler, I guess KCI will probably figure out a way to do it without that. They could probably do loops that aren't quite as good. Maybe it'll the deck enough to make it not so obnoxious, perhaps. But the reason I say KCI is because it seems like the best payoff for an eggs deck. Like, once you get rid of that, you're back to square one with eggs, right? You're not. If we get rid of the other parts, they might play a Faith's Reward version of the deck, or whichever version of that card is still legal. It also means they can't print cards like that into standard. They know that like things like Ashnod's Altars and KCIs are busted. Explosive mana engines with sack outlets are busted. That card is the way that you kill that deck, and you mean that another eggs deck doesn't rise up in its place. Because let's be honest, the problem here isn't even necessarily that we haven't come to this yet. Even the deck isn't oppressive. Should it even exist? Should we have a deck that has these deterministic, stupid loops that are dull to watch, that dull to play against, and they just upset new players and established players alike?
I've been against. I was hating on eggs before it was popular. I was making videos hating on eggs in Modern before it was popular, and I've been against this. This is why, like, people are like, "Whoa, KCI." There were some people just so shocked at the fact I would even make a joke about banning KCI in my last video, and I'm like, "Have you been watching my channel?" I think my very first Q&A at like 10,000 subscribers was like, "What's your most hated deck?" And I go, "Eggs." I really dislike eggs immensely. I dislike it in every format, but especially in Modern. And I don't even think, like in all honesty, I guess maybe it's just that I'm an old timer, I don't even really like to call it KCI. I just think of it as eggs is back. I would love to see it. I think that's very bold. I think there's a cruelty to just straight out banning the key card in a deck. Like, that's destroying the deck. I feel like that really is some feel-bads for people.
It is. But, I mean, they've set a precedent in the past that this kind of deck should not exist. They banned eggs decks out so many times. Just do it again. I know what you're saying, though. Like, they won't ban the payoffs for Storm. They'll always ban cards to neuter Storm. They don't like killing people's decks.
That's why I say Ancient Stirrings. And the other thing with Ancient Stirrings is it neuters a lot of decks, because KCI is not the only deck that Ancient Stirrings makes too good. So the theory behind banning Ancient Stirrings is simply that it is taking a deck that is definitely mean, definitely we'd rather there be answers to, and it's just too darn efficient, and it makes it less efficient. And by banning Ancient Stirrings, you are also affecting Tron as well. And so, again, what are you going to do? Just straight out ban Urza's Tower to get rid of Tron? You could ban Ugin, and people have other things that they're going to cheat in, or not cheat in, but use the Urza lands to super mana in, but you ban Ancient Stirrings, and that efficiency goes down. Lantern Control uses Ancient Stirrings.
You're naming a lot of decks that people hate, aren't you? These are the boogeymans of the format.
Yeah,
so I get, and Stirrings shouldn't exist in a world that Preordain and Ponder aren't allowed. I mean, they would make certain combo decks too good, obviously, but I mean, this is on that level of cantrip, so I definitely get that.
Right.
I just don't know if this is the problem with Ancient Stirrings as a ban, is that we've mentioned Phoenix a little bit. Some people are currently scared of Phoenix.
Right.
If you've got a deck rising in popularity that doesn't use the card you're banning, and we're looking for the metagame to adjust, banning a card that then damages 4 or 5 other top tier decks, or 4 in this case, like Green Affinity, Lantern, Tron, and KCI.
Yes.
If you ban that card out, those decks are now weaker, and does that not give more breathing room to Arclight to just fly around and do whatever it wants? And I'm not sure on which matchups are good and which matchups are bad, but I'd be scared you're just giving the format to a potentially oppressive threat that you have to ban down the line, which is Faithless Looting. Get rid of Faithless Looting. That card shouldn't be in the format as well, but that's
it's madness. This is just ultimately this is madness. You go down this slope where it's just this bend. I mean, at a certain point, how much are you banning here? How much? Everything you ban, it's like a collapsing house of cards that you're grabbing everything, and it just isn't going to work. And I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna close out this discussion with what is coming. It's not about bans. It's about our hero who did nothing wrong. You know where I'm going with this?
You're going to ask what cards we should unban, right?
Splinter Twin died for our sins. Splinter Twin died for Modern, died to removal, died unfairly and unjustly, and if we just unbanned Bloody Splinter Twin, it keeps these BS deck in check. That's what it does.
KSI would struggle. It would start, set up its loop. I mean, go off on turn 3.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, it sets up its loop, it's going to win next turn, and then they haven't got the interaction, and Twin just goes, no, you're dead.
Right.
And they're like, oh, maybe I should have played some removal spells, and they have to sideboard into removal spells. And that proves why sideboards are good as well. To go back to our original point. But I agree.
Will never
I think Twin would be a
unban
fantastic
Splinter
unban.
Twin because they have to admit that what they did was wrong. They would have to apologize not to the players, but to Splinter Twin. And they don't want to do that.
Unban Twin and Pod at the same time, and let's have a good format, an exciting format for a few months. Then they can reban it later. Who cares?
All right. Well, we are now repeating ourselves from a previous podcast, so I'm going to call it there. Ladies and gents, thank you for joining us on another week. Vince, I hear you just started a YouTube channel or something like that. Where can people find you if they want to find you?
I started it about 24, 36 months ago, something like that. You can find me at youtube.com/Pleasant Kenobi, where I upload videos about Modern and Legacy and Commander and just lots of silliness. I stream every single Monday at 7 p.m. GMT over on twitch.tv/Pleasant Kenobi, and I'm very active on Twitter as well. I'm normally getting told I'm wrong by everyone, but twitter.com/Pleasant Kenobi. I'm also on Instagram as well, but that's not really that exciting.
Right, and we're going to be having coming up, we don't have a date yet, but very soon we are going to have our Merfolk versus Dredge grudge match.
Yes.
So in an earlier episode, astute viewers will know that we had a disagreement about whether or not Merfolk can easily dispatch Dredge, and so the solution, I'm going to dust off my Merfolk deck on Magic Online, and during one of Vince's
streams... And then I'm going to dredge you to death. We'll either stream it or we might put it...
I don't understand how you think I don't have answers to Dredge in Merfolk. It's very easy. It's
if you look up and go turn 0 Leyline of the Void on turn 1, I'm going to be like, what? That's what you can't skew it. You can't skew it to beat Dredge.
I'm not skewing nothing, but it's very easy to deal with Dredge in Merfolk.
So I'm not allowed to play 4 main board combusts then? Is that not allowed?
Listen, we'll talk about the rules. I think, you know what I think? I think maybe what we have to do is we have to select an established list so that we're not just building, because otherwise I will put Leylines of the Void, and we should do both.
Board.
We should wait. We should do both. We have to pick like a deck that's posted somewhere on results,
and
on
then
MTG
one
Goldfish.
very meta game,
and
very meta
we
game.
also are going to do one where we build. And it's like you don't even have Dredge at that point. You're just literally choke and boil, and it's like this isn't Dredge, and you're like whatever, it's Dredge.
Yeah, I'm game. That sounds great.
Right. Turn 1, Leyline of the Void. Turn 2, Rest in Peace. You know.
Yeah, and I'm just playing like fair green white creatures. It's kind of Dredge.
Right. Anyway, so definitely go check out Vince's channel and his Twitch stream. You're already on mine. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, you can check that out. We also have Dies to Removal playmats in the Tolarian Student Store if you're interested in one of those, supporting the show that way. And we're on SoundCloud and iTunes and all of those things. I will post all of that in the video description. And let us keep our fingers crossed for Monday's BNR update. We will speak to you after that. Until then, good night.